I work for the most famous YouTube strategist in the world. His name is Paddy Galloway. He's also the best YouTube strategist in the world, and he was the YouTube strategist for Mr. Beast. And all the big creators, if you think of Ryan Trahan, Eric, basically any big creator you think of that is on YouTube and say gets more than 10 million views, he has probably worked with or helped out with. And he basically handed me the keys to his business for an entire day, and I basically shat myself. And I want to tell you about it. I've been working for Paddy for about 7 months, and recently he was away on a holiday, and he was not going to be back in time to basically work on a Friday. And the other lead strategist, who's also an absolute legend, his name's Dom, was also away traveling for the day. And rather than closing down the business, he basically had a conversation with me, and he was like, "Hey Arnav, I trust you enough to be able to handle all client inquiries and tasks and questions that come your way, and we're going to keep the business open on Friday." And when he said this to me, I felt like, holy shit, I felt a little bit, a little level of anxiety, but I also felt a little bit of excitement for this idea of, having this responsibility. Usually, responsibility and accountability for me like, in my history of work has usually led to the most amount of growth. So I was like, cool, let's do it. And I was really excited until the day came where I was handed the keys to the business and there was no one around. And let me tell you, some of our clients that we work with are basically they're just massive. We work with an NFL team, like the National Football League, like American football. They like throw the league and they have helmets and they like bash. We actually work with one of the teams is actually a client of ours. So that hopefully shows you the like magnitude of these teams. And on that day, basically, maybe 6 to 8 questions came my way. Now, as a YouTube strategist, my job is to make decisions. Make decisions on YouTube, what thumbnails to choose, how to improve them, what titles to choose, what videos to choose. If clients have questions about why videos are performing well, or most of the time why videos are not performing well, or what the performance of the video actually means, it's my job to know. And I had to make some decisions. I remember being that day when no one was around, I wasn't actually able to make those decisions very quickly. Usually, a decision that would take me about 30 seconds to a minute, maximum 5 minutes to think through and think about, basically took me 45 minutes to make. And the reason for this was basically fear. I was afraid when I made the decision, what if that was the wrong decision? And ultimately, one thing you have to understand about YouTube strategy is that it's very much like shooting a basketball in that it's all a game of probability. Steph Curry, the best shooter in the world, maybe shoots the ball, I don't know, on a free throw line 90% of the time, but he still misses 10% of the time. He's going to miss 10 out of every 100 free throws he takes. And it's very similar with YouTube strategy in that when you make a decision, there's no 100% probability of that being right. But a better YouTube strategy has a high probability. So when I was making those decisions when Paddy and the rest of the team was away, I was afraid, what if I make the wrong decision that Paddy and Dom would basically not make? So if there's two paths to go down, like A and B, what if I pick A but Paddy would have picked B? And that fear basically made me just like double think myself a lot. And the reason I'm telling you this is I basically had a lot of mindset coaching classes with some of my mentors after that day. And by the way, that day I made those decisions. Everything went smoothly. Everything went fine. The decisions I made ended up working out really well as well. But what if they didn't? And I think after some of the mindset coaching I've had, I would be okay with that. I would be okay with me making the wrong decisions. And the reason for that is in life, you can't actually control your output and you can't really control things that are outside of your control. Like that sounds so basic, but it's so true. For me on that day, all I could control was using my best abilities to make a call. And whatever probability that chance of that, being the right call, that's the probability. And ultimately, my fear of letting Paddy and the team down and making the wrong decision was not justified because Paddy himself gave me that responsibility. So by doing that, he actually takes ownership over that call because whatever probability, say if I'm shooting the probability, 80%, that's my, I don't know, free throw score of YouTube strategy. When Paddy said, "Hey, Arnav, have the keys, basically take the shot on behalf of the team," he's okay with me missing that shot. He's okay with the probability that I have to succeed with that shot. And, that is called trust. That is called growth. And, obviously to me, it was amazing learning experience. But yeah, like now after that, day has gone past, he's back, like, you know, he's back into the business, and I'm still making lots and lots of very highly important decisions on a day-to-day basis, but I'm not scared anymore. I'm making those decisions, being okay with them being wrong. And after some thought, I think a big part of why I was afraid really came down to ego. If you really think about it, for me, when I joined Paddy's team initially, and by the way, like, I'm no like noob when it comes to YouTube, you know. The main channel for which I'm like the creative director of, I've grown from 150K to I think like 927K in basically 2 years, and it's gonna hit 1 million next month. In addition to like probably hundreds of other channels that I've worked for, and probably thousands of hours I've spent studying YouTube and also being trained by Paddy. So like not a YouTube noob. But when I first joined Paddy's team, it was very different. I had basically no fear because I was like, wait a minute, I'm new here. I have nothing to lose. My entire reputation is basically zero, and everything that I do, I have things to gain. But by the time that Paddy had handed me the keys, I'd been working for him for 7 months, and I had proved myself to be competent. And as a result of that, I'd sort of developed this ego where I was like, wait a minute, if I make the wrong call, maybe like Paddy stops trusting me. Maybe I'm seen as less competent. And, you know, that was really my ego speaking. So I think the main message of this video is that don't be afraid to take the shot and be wrong. Because the only way that you increase your probability, say if it's 80% of making that free throw in, or whatever job or role you have, you know, in basically in most things in life, there's no guarantees. So whatever your probability of success at whatever you're trying to do is, be okay with it landing on the other side of that probability, because that is the only way you increase that probability. Steph Curry didn't start as a 90% free throw shooter when he began. You know, he got there because of the hundreds and thousands of shots he took when his probability was probably like 50%, 60%, 70% of making that shot. And the only reason I'm, say, like metaphorically at an 80%, you know, YouTube strategy probability hit rate when it comes to making decisions is because I've made thousands of decisions when my probability was way lower. And, you know, I had to deal with the consequences, but I learned from them. So yeah, take with that what you will. Cool.